My name is Sarah Miller. I met David on a rainy September morning outside the university library. He had that easy smile and an old leather satchel that smelled like coffee and late exams. We fell into a life that felt like fate white curtains, Saturday pancakes, our son Ethan's soft laugh echoing off the kitchen tiles. People said we were the kind of couple you notice in a room and instinctively think they're okay. And for a long while, we were. I told myself that was enough. The trouble started the way small storms start, quietly with a shift in the air. Work for both of us got busier. David took a promotion that meant dinners at strange hours and travel. I decided to go back to school for a master's because the thought of sitting still terrified me. Our conversations narrowed to practicalities, tuition, groceries, daycare. Romantic language slipped to the margins. Then Ryan came into my life. He enrolled in the same night photography class I did. Ryan had an artist's restlessness. His hair always looked like he'd been running his fingers through it, and he spoke in questions that made the world seem like a secret waiting to be opened. He noticed frames of light the way other people notice words. He said things like, "You see the spill of city lights and hear it, the same sadness?" And I, exhausted from months of survival mode living, answered honestly. He listened. He made me feel seen. The first time we kissed was not cinematic. It was in a parking lot under an old street lamp after a shoot gone late. My hands smelled like film developer and gasoline, and for a single dizzying second, I forgot I had a son who needed me in the morning. A husband who once traced constellations on the ceiling to make me laugh. The kiss was a betrayal, but it was also a possibility I had been starving for. A raw, dangerous brightness that said I was still here, flesh and blood and desire. We told ourselves it would be harmless. Just this once, we lied. Then just a few times, and then until I figured things out. The romantic tension between us became an addiction text that made me breathe faster at the bus stop, stolen afternoons where sunlight and conversation blurred into confession. Ryan was gentle in ways David wasn't anymore. He learned the map of my anxieties and held them like fragile glass. I started making plans in my head that were not the kind you could bring up at a PTA meeting. I convinced myself that if I loved David enough, I could compartmentalize the affair into a drawer labeled moral failure and still be a good mother, a good wife. Secrets have a gravity. The more I carried, the heavier they grew. I would come home after seeing Ryan and laugh too loudly at something David said, as if loudness could drown out the tremor in my chest. I would hold Ethan longer before bedtime, memorizing the sound of his breathing so I could remind myself of what mattered. Sometimes the guilt would hit so hard, I would stand in the shower and let the water pound on my shoulders as if it could wash away the memory of my own hands. Of course, secrets do not stay hidden forever. Mine unraveled in the most ordinary of ways: a misplaced phone, an unlocked email, a wrong click. David found a string of messages, not the passionate declarations I'd imagined, but the stubborn, steady exchanges that build a life between two people. Inside jokes, late-night plans, a photograph of my face laughing that he'd never seen. He didn't explode with violence or reproach. Instead, he became like winter, quiet, distant, inevitable. The son he loved looked at him the way a child looks at a parent whose attention has just wavered, and I felt something I could not name crack inside me. The fallout was immediate and terrible. We tried counseling because that's what people do when they believe in repair. The counselor sat between us like a referee and made us answer questions I hadn't practiced. Why did you betray him? Did you love him? Did you want to leave? Every time I opened my mouth, shame crowded in. Friends who'd been confidants took sides. Some called me reckless, others whispered about how impossible it must have been for David. The town, which had always felt like a soft, approving audience, turned its gossip into weather. I lost clients at work when someone I'd confided in passed along the story. My mother cried when I visited. Her disappointment was a physical ache I could not soothe. Ryan's presence in my life made everything more complicated. He wanted a future that had no room for a husband and a child. He wanted me to choose, and when I hesitated, he retreated in a way that left a hollow in me. He said, "I can't be the one who pulls your life apart," but that was exactly what I had already done. His withdrawal felt like punishment, and the loneliness that followed was sharper than anything I'd felt while married, because this was self-inflicted. The legal things came next, not dramatic courtroom scenes from the movies, but quiet forms, signature lines, discussions about custody. Ethan's needs became the only clear North Star in a sky I'd blackened with my own poor choices. David and I negotiated custody with the exhaustion of people who had already grieved many times and were now just trying to be reasonable. He moved out before the divorce papers were filed. When he packed, he didn't slam doors. He left with the same careful motions he'd used when we'd fallen in love, gentle, almost reverent. That tenderness hurt the most. What destroyed my life was not the affair itself. It was the secret I kept after it ended. I clung to the idea that I could preserve both worlds, that there was a way to have Ryan as excitement and David as stability without truth ever stepping across the threshold. But secrets breed more secrets, and each one carved away at the person I wanted to be. The shame calcified into something stubborn. I lost friends, trust, financial stability. I lost the way my son had used to look at me before his world changed. In public, I learned to smile and make light jokes about dating again. In private, I rehearsed apologies that felt inadequate because apologies cannot always stitch what carelessness has shredded. Months later, sitting on my kitchen floor with a mug that had gone cold, I realized the real lesson. Love is not a possession you can rearrange to suit your momentary comfort. It requires bravery, sometimes the courage to stay and rebuild, sometimes the clearer, kinder courage to leave before more damage is done. There's no clean answer. There's only consequence and the slow, painstaking work of making amends, of learning to live with what you've done and doing better. I won't pretend this is the end of my story. I'm still learning how to be a mother who can be honest, a woman who can hold herself accountable without being ruined by regret. I want to tell you this not to ask for sympathy, but so someone out there might hear the warning in my story. Secrets hold a power they shouldn't be, and romantic temptation, beautiful, intoxicating, real, does not absolve us of the duty to be kind to the people who trust us. If there's a single truth I want you to carry away, it's this. The small choices are the big ones. The just this once evenings, the messages you think will never matter. Those are the choices that quietly become a life undone. I became a cautionary tale for my community and a lesson for my son, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make that lesson a better one.